All right, everybody, welcome to the Friday Experience. My name is Pastor Lawrence Dufront. I'll be your host for the day. Listen, if you haven't already, please text LSMin to 25251 so that you can join our text group. Also, if you feel led or inspired to donate to the ministry, you can do so by going to www.lawrencedufront.com. That is where you can donate. Or if you have Cash App, you can go to $LAWSOU and you can donate that way to Cash App. So I want to say happy Friday to everybody who is joining me live. Happy Sabbath to those of you who observe the Sabbath. It is, in fact, a beautiful thing to be able to come together and fellowship on this Friday evening. Happy Sabbath, Mom. It's good to see you. I'm so glad you were able to join us today. And so I'm going to go right into it and continue in our series in Adulting 101. And if you have not already, please go and check out last week's experience. That way you will at least have the foundation on where I'm coming from today. Check it out. My boy Tommy in the building. Was good, my G. It's good to see you. Glad you was able to make it. But yeah, if you haven't already, please check out last week's experience. It'll give you the foundation of where I'm coming from for the entire series, talking about being an adult is scary. I deal with some very important things in there. We're going to continue building on that a little bit today. I'm only going to read one verse and then we're just going to build right from the conversation. It's Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. That's Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And it says, watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. I'm going to read that to you again. Proverbs 4, verse 23. It says, watch over your heart with all diligence, from it flow the springs of life. And so one of the things about being an adult is that you do not start off as an adult. Let me say that again. I want to make sure that everybody's with me, that everybody's clear. If you can hear me, put a one up. Just want to make sure that we're good. One thing about being an adult is that you do not start off as an adult. Every single one of us has a past, has a history that comes with some pain and some hurts, right? We all deal with some level of trauma because being a child in this world, in this society, has its traumatic effects. And for whatever reason, is not really discussed often the reality of our traumas. In fact, if you grew up in the Christian tradition, for many of us, we were only taught to pray and fast about it. It's not really discussed the necessity of therapy, counseling, and or coaching. And so when we get into our adulthood, we bring a level of pain, a level of trauma with us that influences how we view the world. And that influence determines how we interact, not just with one another, but how we interact with ourselves. And so here in this proverb, what we are commissioned is to guard the heart with all diligence. So I want to help break this down so that it is clear and then we can leave with some practical understanding and or advice. But this idea of first the heart. When the scripture speaks about the heart, it is not merely talking about the place of emotional consciousness, but rather the scriptures is dealing with who you are in your inner self, in your inner man, the real you, the true you. That is what the scriptures is dealing with in most cases when it speaks about the heart. Of course, we deal with all things in context. And so there is an aspect of you, the inner you, that is not based off of what you look like, is not based off of what you do and how you do it. It's not based off of your influence, your network, or your net worth. There is a you that is pure that is all spirit, that is in fact light at its finest. There is a you that exists within this shell that we call a body, a you that many of us have been disconnected from, a you that is in fact the pure essence of identity that comes from source, the you that the source is consistently speaking to. There is the you that has been redeemed by the work of the Messiah, the inner you. It is the you, the inner you, the heart you, the part of you that is truly the child of God. See, this flesh, that's not the child of God. This flesh is going to die and be done away with. Our experiences, that's not the child of God. It's filled with heartaches and it's filled with trauma. There is a you, in fact, that the world cannot even really touch, but your perspective of that you has been marred by your experience. And so when the scripture says to guard your heart, the scriptures is talking about guarding that aspect of you, defending, if you will, putting boundaries up around that part of you that connects directly to God. And many of us, we have not been counseled or even taught to deal with that aspect. So the scriptures lets us know that from that inner us flows the springs of life. In other words, how we are experiencing this reality, how we engage in this dimension, it flows from how we perceive ourselves and our connection to that inner us. The scriptures lets us know that it is our responsibility to guard the inner us. And so when we were children, there was an expectation that our parents would do all that they could do to ensure that nobody deals with us in such a way that we get disconnected from ourselves. Yeah, let's get a little deep tonight. When we were children, there was an expectation that the village and the community would handle us in such a way that we would grow more into who we were intended to be. But the reality is many of our experiences is that we were mishandled as children, and therefore we are misunderstood as adults. The things that has happened to us when we were children influence the way that we perceive ourselves and the world. And so for many of us, our hearts has literally been broken. Who we think we are is merely a sum total of all of our experiences. It is not truly connected to who God is. And the problem with that is there is, in fact, an us that represents God so well that all of creation bows in our presence. There is, in fact, an us that is so beautiful that all of the artwork of the world cannot compare. An us that is so glorious that we would make the stars in the skies look dim. There is an us that's truly children of God. And because of our experiences, because of the way that we have been handled, we are now misunderstood. Not just misunderstood by the public, but we're also misunderstood by ourselves. How many of us truly identify with the pain that we've been through? How many of us have convinced ourselves that I am nothing more than my trauma? Let's go even a little deeper. How many of us, we have been so scarred and so marred by what has happened to us in our childhood that we've done our best to suppress the pain, to try to forget all of the abuse, all of the neglect, all of the mishandlings. And so as adults, I want you to get this. As adults, what we've been through as a child was not our fault. If you're still taking notes, this is a good time to write something down. What we've been through as children, that's not our fault. We are not responsible for the pain and the trauma that we've experienced as a child. And I'm telling you this because some of us come from households where our parents tried to convince us that it was our fault. Our parents tried to convince us it was because we were disrespectful. It was because we were disobedient. It was because we was unruly, whatever the case may be. Our parents tried to convince us that it was our fault. Whatever it is that we went through when we were children, it was our fault. I want to let you know it was not your fault. Whatever you've been through as a child that has hurt you, that has marred you, you went through that because there were adults who did not value the lives of children. You've been through what you've been through because there were adults who chose to remain broken instead of dealing with their history. And you are now a consequence of their negligence. Of you've been through what you've been through because the adults that handled you did not know any better because they had you before they were ready, or they had you thinking that they had a community that would support them, but they were left by themselves. You've been through what you've been through for a series of reasons, but none of those reasons are your fault. I don't care how unruly you've been. I don't care how disrespectful you've been. At the end of the day, it was your parents' job through the support of the community to raise you. It is not a child's job to raise themselves. I think I find it very interesting the way that adults will turn the responsibility of being a moral or a productive citizens on children who still have no idea how this world works. Yeah. It's a little irresponsible to tell children that it is their job to know what it means to be obedient, to understand the magnitude of obedience. Children come into this world not knowing a thing. It is the adult's job to guide them and to show them. And for many adults, they dealt with children from their frustration because of their lack of preparation. Yeah, I'm talking today. We getting there today. And because the adults were not prepared, they tried to put the onus on you. So I want you to understand, you, the adult, I'm speaking to you now. You who are now an adult who has to deal with all of this pain and trauma. I want you to first understand that it was not your fault. Somebody needs to put that in the chat. It was not my fault. I want to make sure that that gets in your psyche. It was not your fault that you was abandoned. It was not your fault that you was abused. It was not your fault that you was put in foster care. It was not your fault that you was molested. It was not your fault that you was raped. It is not your fault that you had to stay back in school. It is not your fault that you fear the touch of other people. It is not your fault that you was talked down to. It is not your fault. It is not my fault. I've been through what I've been through because the cards that was dealt to me, I had the hand that I had for whatever reason. Either I chose it in another dimension or God saw fit that I would come up through this mud. At the end of the day, it's not my fault. It's not your fault. You need to understand the scars and the pain. It's not your fault. But watch this. The scars and the pain, it's not your fault. But the healing is your responsibility. I want to be sensitive here because I understand that many of us have been through some just disturbing things. I don't want to come off as insensitive, as if I don't care or as if I don't understand, but I have to make it abundantly clear. The pain, the damage, it's not your fault, but the healing is your responsibility. I know nobody told you that it is your responsibility to get the help that is necessary to get over or whatever happened to you. And maybe you didn't know that you can get over. Maybe no one told you can get over. Maybe no one told you that healing is possible. Maybe nobody told you that victory is sure. And I want to be the voice to let you know that whatever you've been through, there is in fact a way to get over. There is a way to win, but you have to take responsibility. And some of the reasons why so many of us has not been taking responsibility from what has happened to us is because we refuse to acknowledge that even though it is not our fault as adults, it is still our responsibility. Yes, we can point the finger at so and so who did what they did, but now they've done it and it's been done. It's in the past. You are now in the present, but you still feel the pain from what you've been through. You still feel the scars from what you've been through. You're still experiencing the trauma from what you've been through. Yes, that experience is not your fault, but the deliverance from that experience is your responsibility. I'm going to tell you something. Many of us, we're going to find ourselves in an early grave waiting for wicked people to apologize for what they did. Listen, I don't want any of us to find ourselves living a subpar life because we refuse to take responsibility for what has happened to us. Listen, you're not taking responsibility of your healing is not shifting the blame from the other person. In other words, you're not saying what happened to you is all right by taking responsibility. What you're saying is, I will be all right by taking responsibility in spite of what they've done to me. I will handle myself better. I will go get the help that I need, because what I'm not going to do is allow wicked people to keep me in a space where I can't prosper. And so you have to take responsibility. See, okay, so when we're dealing with guarding your hearts, you probably don't know this. Maybe no one ever taught you, but some of the reasons why you're choosing the relationships that you're choosing is because you are choosing them from a place of hurt, and you did not know that it is your job to set up boundaries because somebody violated your space at such a young age. And so you let anybody talk to you how they're going to talk to you. You let anybody treat you how they're going to treat you. And you use religious jargon to cover up the reality that you're not taking responsibility of guarding your heart. See, for many of us, our hearts are so broken that we don't even feel it necessary to guard. We say, I've already been through enough. I'm a survivor. I can make it. I can handle it. And the reality is, just because you can handle it, that doesn't mean you're supposed to be going through it. Whoa, I'm talking to somebody. Just because you have the strength to bear the abuse doesn't mean it's God's will that you bear it. And for many of us, we're not willing to let go of relationships because we are so afraid of being alone. We're so afraid of being abandoned because of what happened to us in the past. We say subconsciously, it's better to have somebody than nobody. But I'm here to tell you that as long as you let abusers inside of your space, you'll never really know who you are in your creator. You'll find yourself continuing to identify with the victim. You'll find yourself continuing to identify with the one who could not defend themselves. You'll find yourself continuously identifying with the person who could not say no. But the truth is, today you are an adult and you are able to stop any mistreatment that is coming your way. You can say no. You can say stop. You can block them. You can leave the room. You can physically fight your way through that thing. You are not the little child anymore. And so while the pain is not your fault, the prosperity is your responsibility. While the hurt is not your fault, the healing is your responsibility. And as an adult, you have to make the decision and say, you know what? I'm going to get the help that I need. I'm going to talk to the therapist that I need to talk to. I'm going to talk to the counselor that I need to talk to. I'm going to talk to the consultant that I need to talk to. I'm going to talk to the coach that I need to talk to. At the end of the day, your responsibility is to get the help. Listen, I'm starting this series really heavy because nothing else matters if you continue to leave your heart vulnerable. So how do you know that you're leaving your heart vulnerable? How do you know that your heart is open for abuse? How do you know? Well, for one, when you don't have a filter on who has access to you. All right. This may not be for everybody, but this is for somebody. Some of you, because you've been rejected, you feel the answer is to accept anybody. All right, listen to me. Because you've been rejected, your biggest fear now is having somebody else feel the pain of rejection. And so there's something in you that says, I'm not going to be the abuser by rejecting anybody. I'm going to accept everyone and anyone who wants to be in my presence. And what you don't realize is by accepting everyone and anyone into your presence, you're putting your being at risk. Oh, come on, talk to me now. You think that you're a good person. You think that you're an awesome friend. You think you're being Christ-like because Christ loves everybody. No. It doesn't work like that. You have to have a filter as to who has access to you. In other words, you have to determine the qualities and qualifications of your circle. Your circle can't be so inclusive that abusers feel comfortable there. Come on. You have to be able to discern and determine who has the right to access you. And so you can't answer every phone call. Yeah. You can't go out to every event. Yeah. You can't accept every Facebook request. Come on. And let's talk about Facebook just for a little bit. Let's talk about Instagram just for a little bit. Let's talk about Twitter just for a little bit. How do you know that your heart is open to abuse? When you feel the need to expose yourself on social media. Come on, say ouch if this is you. Say ouch if this is you. When you feel the need to share with strangers all of the situations and circumstances that's happening in your life. You're sharing them with strangers because somehow you're convinced that social media is real connections. And I want to be sensitive. I want to be sensitive. I really want to be sensitive. I know for some of you, that's all the connection you know. But baby, listen, if you're listening to me now, I want to be honest and I want to be real with you. Social media is not real connections. It's pseudo connections. Social media is designed to make you feel connected so that you can give up information that exposes you. Am I saying you got to get off social media? I'm not saying that. Well, maybe some of you need to get off social media. Let me be honest. Maybe some of you need to get off social media, right? What I'm saying is there are some things that you're sharing in social media that you should be sharing with a friend, that you should be sharing with a therapist, that you should be sharing with the counselor. Why are you giving these strangers so much access to your life? I'm telling you, the pain is not your fault, but the prosperity is your responsibility. You need to put a guard up, something that says this information is not necessary for mass consumption. Yeah. Certain things they don't have to know about your car accident, or they don't have to know about your graduation, or they don't have to know about your marital issues, or they don't have to know about your promotion. Is there a way to do it with tact? Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you this. If you ain't making no money off social media, you should be real careful about what you're sharing on social media, because they don't need to be all up in your business and you're not even profiting anything off of it. You're not getting any real support. You get 1,000 likes, but then when you need some help, you get $0 and you're trying to figure out what's going on. You're not guarding your heart. It's weird because it's like the more you engage in social media, the more you feel alone, because at the end of the day, it's easy to press a button. It's a lot harder to be present. Anyone can press a button. Anyone can say like, love, laugh. Anyone can press a button, it takes more effort to actually be present. And so you'll soon realize that the people that are engaging you on your statuses will rarely ever engage you in your spirit because they really don't care about you. You're nothing more than another piece of content in their life. You're nothing but entertainment for them, and you're here pouring your heart out to them. Oh my God. Listen, guard your heart. You have to guard. You can't. One of my sayings, right? My queen is watching. Shout out to the queen. One of the sayings that I always say is, who you inform, you invite. Who you inform, you invite. And so many of you are inviting strangers into your situation, and you're trying to figure out why things aren't working out because nobody taught you or nobody told you that when you informed them of what was going on, you also invited them into what's going on. So now their energy can manipulate your outcome. So now their doubt, you're trying to figure out why things aren't manifesting. You're believing with all your heart. You don't even realize it's the doubt of those that you're inviting through information that is blocking the blessing. You've told so many people you don't even know who to cut off. You done told the world you got to start brand new accounts because you have no idea where the leak is coming from. Well, guess what? Had you never told them, they wouldn't be informed. Therefore, they wouldn't be invited. Some of you have to learn how to speak on things after the fact. Somebody type after. You got to learn how to speak on things after the fact, after it's done. See, a testimony is about sharing what happened in your past, not what's going on in your present. And some of you think you're testifying when you're really just being irresponsible. We touching toes today. Somebody needs to say ouch. Somebody needs to say ouch if you can't say amen. Woo! Guard your heart. Guard your heart. If you pay close attention, when you're talking to people, you can easily identify those who don't care about you. Now, let me say this because I want this to be clear. I know we lived in a fantasy world, XYZ. Everybody don't have to care about you. Okay, can I make it plain? Them not caring about you, that's not the problem. That's not because humans are going to be humans. Everybody's not supposed to care about you. That's not the world we live in. So the issue is not their lack of care. The issue is your lack of boundaries. Your inability to set up guards to protect you from people who don't care about you. Your thirst for relationship is so high that you can't even discern that this person is only speaking to you to leech off of you. In fact, there are some people listening right now, you are so broken from your past that you feel like a relationship is not even worth engaging unless you provide some type of benefit for them. You have a hard time accepting love from people if you can be of some service to them. And so the people who don't need you, you find yourself intimidated by those relationships. Because something in the back of your mind is saying they can walk away whenever they choose because they don't need me. Well, let me tell you something. The best relationships are the ones where they don't need you. Rather, they enjoy you. They enjoy who you are. They enjoy your energy. They enjoy what you bring as far as feelings is concerned, as far as support is concerned. They don't need you because they're self-sufficient adults. So they don't need you, but they like you. And so they're around you. Those are the best relationships. But some of you only feel valuable when somebody needs you. And so you keep attracting people who don't want to do anything more than take from you. And then you wonder why you feel so empty at the end of the week. You feel empty because your circle has been filled with people who don't really care about you. Guard your heart. Guard your heart. By guarding your heart, you set up these parameters that say, yeah, you can't have access to me unless your energy is positive. You can't have access to me unless your light is also shining. You can't have access to me unless you're going to uplift me. You can't have access to me unless you know how to celebrate me. You can't have access to me if all we're going to do is talk about you. You can't have access to me if the only time you call or text is if your hand is out. No, you can't have access to me if you're only going to use your negativity to bring me down. Yeah, I know some of us, we have bad days, but if every day is a bad day, it might not be the day. The day might not be the problem. Every day can't be a bad day. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Every day can't be a bad day. If every day is a bad day, the day is not the problem. And so until you figure out why you woke up feeling like this, oh, come on. Oh, I'm about to shout. You got to figure out why you woke up with a bad day. Ain't nothing even happened to you yet. You woke up feeling bad. Come on. You got to cleanse your spirit. There's some people, look, you can't touch me till you cleanse your spirit. Get a baptism. Do a fast. Get some crystals. Do something because you're waking up ready to drain me. Yeah, no longer am I going to let people have access to me that only want to take from me. Now, whatever overflows off of me, you can have, it's free to the world, but I got to make sure that what's in my cup, come on, what's in my cup, I have access to. I'm not going to give you what belongs to me. And for so many of us, we do it subconsciously. We don't even realize. Nobody taught us that as adults, we ought to examine our relationships because as kids, we are conditioned to be friends with everybody. As kids, we're told to be friends with all of our classmates. If we're in the park, we're friends. Everybody's your friend. We're conditioned as kids. Because once again, the expectation was that the adults would ensure that no one would mishandle us. But now we've been mishandled. That's not our fault. But the protection, that's our responsibility. And so I know some of you feel bad when you have to cut that person off. If you feel bad, I'm here, listen to me. If you feel bad cutting off the toxic people in your life, then go seek some help. I want to speak clearly to you. If you feel uncomfortable having to say no to something that you know you have no business entertaining, then go seek some help. This is a trumpet sound for adults to get the healing that they need, because the first line of defense is construction. The second line of defense is protection. So you have to rebuild your heart. You have to heal from all that you've been through. Then when you heal, now you can protect yourself so that you don't have to go through it again. Now you can, and protecting yourself isn't just keeping people out. Protecting yourself is also learning the emotional skills so that you can regulate. See, a lot of you, you're trigger happy. You're trigger happy because you haven't dealt with the issues. What do I mean by trigger happy? Everything gets you triggered. That's what I mean. When I say trigger happy, I'm saying everything gets you triggered. Do you know it's not healthy to be triggered by everything? Maybe no one ever told you that because everybody's trying to be friends with everybody. It's not healthy to be triggered by everything. Some things might be a trigger because you're still working on that. But if everything is a trigger, it doesn't, what somebody cuts you off, you're triggered. Or somebody blows their horn, you're triggered. Or somebody says your name wrong, you're triggered. Somebody posts something on their page on social media, you're triggered. You see something on TV, you're triggered. You hear something in a song, you're triggered. Trigger. You're so trigger happy because you're not emotionally happy. You haven't dealt with the inner parts of you, and so you can find offense in everything around you. Go get some help. I'm not here to talk down to you. I don't want to be condescending to you. I want to be sensitive to your experience, but I also want to tell you, go get some help. Talk to somebody, because as an adult, it is your job to guard your own heart, because from it flows the springs of life. So here, let me leave you with this, right? Your mindset determines your reality. The way you guard your heart, the way your heart is set up, the way your inner man is set up, that determines your reality. Every experience you have, the way you experience it is contingent to the mindset that you have. Listen to what I want to be. I want to be clear. I want to be clear. What happens to you happens to you. You lose your job, you lost your job. You lose a relationship, you lost a relationship. There's no amount of mindset that's going to change that. You lost your job. The relationship's over. Whatever, right? That what happens happens. The way you experience what happens is contingent on your mindset. So when people lose jobs every day, but they don't lose them the same way. Some people, their mindset has a way that helps them bounce back, while other people have a mindset that leaves them in bondage. Relationships can end. Some people relationship ends and they're able to move forward with life. Other people, their relationship ends and they find themselves in bondage. And so it's not the situation that determines how you're going to be affected. It's the mindset in which you engage in the situation that determines how you're going to experience the situation. Because out of the heart flows the springs of life. What you're not realizing is your experience in life doesn't happen to you, it flows from you. All right, I'm setting somebody free today. For a long time, you've been thinking that it's everything around you that's wrong. You've been blaming everything and everyone around you. It's been everybody else's fault. It's been the recession's fault. It's the government's fault. It's my job's fault. It's everything around. You're saying that your life is miserable because of all of the things that you have around you, all of the things that you've been experiencing around you. I want to let you know that as an adult, life doesn't happen to you. Life happens through you. The way that you set up your mind determines how you experience life. It is your responsibility to create a mindset that leads to the highest quality of life. That's guarding your heart. It's acknowledging that I can only experience what I accept. That might be hard for some of you. Some of y'all need to book a one-on-one with me, because I don't even know if you can get that through just presentation alone. I don't even know. It's not happening to you. What you're experiencing flows through you. Whatever happened, but how you're experiencing it is determined by how your heart is set up. How your heart is set up is determined by what you've been feeding yourself, how you've been healing yourself from your trauma, and also what you've been feeding yourself as an adult. So if you're not giving yourself anything to deal with situations, if you're not pouring positivity in yourself, if you're not giving yourself spirituality, if you're not doing the work as an adult to ensure that you're getting every good thing in you so you can combat the negative that might be around you, but it doesn't have to be in you. If you're not doing your job, then your mindset is going to be warped by the experience. You're going to convince yourself that every bad situation is a drastic and a traumatic one. Y'all not hearing me? Let me talk to the person where everything is an emergency. Can I talk to you? When it doesn't matter what it is, it's an emergency because your anxiety is so high because you never dealt with the inner man. You never dealt with the inner self. You never dealt with what's going on internally. And so every time something happens, it's an emergency. If you're in traffic, the world's about to crumble. Yeah. If your phone gets cut off, it's over. Life ain't even worth living, right? I'm talking to you. Everything is not an emergency. You feel like that because you haven't gotten the help that you need. Go get some help. There are bad things that happen to all of us. But what I've learned is those who know how to guard their heart can make it through any storm, because there's no amount of evil that can overcome good. There's no amount of wickedness that could be stronger than righteousness. And so while we all might have our days, those of us who are intentional in guarding our heart, we are able to make it through any storm in any situation. Those who are overcomers is not by accident. They recognize that God got their back. They recognize that they deserve every good thing that happens on earth. They do their inner work to ensure that they don't believe the lie of the enemy, that they deserve to be sick, that they deserve to be broke, that they deserve to be alone. You don't deserve that. You deserve the highest quality of life, which means you're going to feed yourself every good thing that your light may shine. Because life happens through you, not to you. Whew. Man, I hope y'all can get that. I hope y'all can get that. Listen, I want to wrap up by saying this. If you've truly been through anything substantial that is still hurting you, if there's been a traumatic situation that you've been through, a depressing situation that you might be going through. Let me talk to some of you. You might be going through some things right now. Life is hell right now. You're one of the people that wake up and you're not excited about life because you're overwhelmed of all the things you have to deal with. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I know that feeling. Where it's like, man, another day of just mess. Another day of just uncertainty. That might be you. You might be listening right now. And if you made it this far, I want to tell you congratulations. Because you've already proven that you're ready for that next step. And what is that next step? Well, we're going to start with prayer. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for those of you whose life has been hell. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to lift you up to the Father. But then after that, I want you to make a conscious decision to go seek some help. Talk to somebody. Don't draw conclusions of what that's going to lead to. Just talk to somebody trustworthy, somebody knowledgeable. Not your friends whose life is just as bad as yours. You've been talking to them for 5-10 years and none of your lives been any better. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about a trained professional who you trust. And if you don't know nobody, hit me up. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what's going on. But it's your responsibility to guard your heart. It's your responsibility to get better. All right, let's pray. Father in heaven, I'm so grateful that you notice us, that you love us, and that in spite of all that we've been through, I know that we can overcome. So everyone, God, whose life is just going through hell right now, I ask that you bless them with just a little more grace, a little more mercy. I ask that you give them just a little more strength that they may do what is necessary to fix their inner man. God, I probably rose up some dark secrets that they've been suppressing. God, I ask that you handle them with grace, that you let them know that it's going to be okay, but that you also give them strategy that they may get the help that they need. And God, as they're getting the help, I ask that you honor their efforts and that you reverse every negative thing that's been coming their way, that by their effort, you will begin to give them relief, because I know that you're able. We thank you. We love you. In the name of the Messiah, we pray. Amen. Listen, man, thank you all for joining. I'll catch y'all next week. If you feel led to donate to the ministry, go to the website, www.lawrencefront.com, or you can go to the Cash App, $LAWSOU. Now, listen, if you need to book a one-on-one with me, you need to book a consultation specifically. You want a consultation, you want to have my time charted out, you want to, reserve a time, XYZ, you go to my website, www.lawrencefront.com. No /ministry, just www.lawrencefront.com. Then you're going to scroll until you see the button for a one-on-one consultation. Click on that button. And that's how you can reserve my time so we can have an in-depth conversation. All right. But you guys are dismissed. I love you. Peace.